So it's Tuesday lunchtime, a typically noisy Soho street, and I've just come out of a screening, a very interesting screening. Usually, when you go to film screenings, you're surrounded by the great and the good of the national press, like Derek Malcolm, you know, Philip French, Christopher Tookie, James King, obviously. Today, I sat in front of none other than Sir David Frost. What was he doing there? Well, the film we were watching was Contagion, the new movie by Steven Soderbergh. Soderbergh describes it as being a sort of real-world film. It's something that people can relate to on a very real level. And it's a story which begins with a cough and then leads on to an outbreak of a disease which is spreading really, really quickly. And how would the world react? How would the disease be spread? And more importantly, would public hysteria take over? At what point does illness end and hysteria begin?
They're calling out the National Guard. They're moving the president underground. People will panic.
To some extent, this relates back to movies that you'll remember, like Outbreak. You remember that, with a scene of Dustin Hoffman holding up a photograph to a camera and saying, "Have you seen this monkey?" Or going a little bit further back, there was a movie called And the Band Played On, which attempted to track back the original outbreak of the HIV virus. And all those films traded very much on being based on what Soderbergh called the real world situation. But as is so often the case, this is also a story that's been told many times before, and often in a superior fashion, in the fantasy, sci-fi, and horror genre. I mean, for example, what is a vampire story, if not an outbreak or contagion story? You know, there's a very famous myth that Bram Stoker died of syphilis, which had been contracted because he couldn't get laid within his marriage, and that apparently is the roots of Dracula. It's not quite true, but you can see where the myth came from. In the 1980s, there was a great wave of vampire movies that everybody said was happening because of the spread of HIV, that somehow that's what the metaphorical substance of those movies was. Well, what about zombie films? I mean, zombie films are contagion movies writ large. The idea you're bitten, you don't know whether you're infected, you don't know whether you're alive, whether you're dead, you don't know who to trust, what's the status of your health. In fact, I would suggest that behind all of these real-world films are horror texts such as the often overlooked George Romero gem, The Crazies. I love The Crazies, and everything that's in Contagion is in The Crazies. Think about it. It's got an outbreak of an unknown affliction. People don't know whether they're infected. People are turning on each other. They don't know who to trust. You have the authorities who appear to be there to deal with the outbreak, but are they? Or are they actually working for duplicitous ends? Are they actually working for themselves? The Crazies is a movie which we often forget was a really intelligent, smart film. It was remade recently in a much more apocalyptic fashion, I have to say, with none of the intelligence of the original. Still good fun, but nothing like as dark as Romero's original vision. Steven Soderbergh, the director of Contagion, is coming on the Radio 5 show I do with Simon Mayo this Friday. Go see Contagion. It's a pretty gripping thriller and often quite upsetting and distressing. But remember, as is so often the case, the horror genre got there first.
Hello. I need you to get me the names of everyone who serviced this room. It's an emergency.
You can't panic now.
I know.
I'm gonna get you home.
I got people too, Dr. Cheever. We all do.
Don't talk to anyone. Don't touch anyone. Stay away from other people.
Get back in your car!
We're not sick!
It's figuring us out faster than we're figuring it out.
It's mutated.